Hey guys, welcome back to another of Vendel's weekly arcade quest tutorials. This one I'm actually getting out in a timely manner for the first time in the last 3 weeks, and I want to apologize the final time for my lateness over the Christmas season. I had a lot going on. But anyways, here we are at the Dance of the Winter Solstice. This is a fun quest because there's some things in it that are extremely exploitable if you're a character with bashes and you just want to get through it quick, but it's also fun because the modifiers that characters have play a massive role in how you have to actually play against them. So one of the first things we always end up talking about is character choice. There's actually a lot to cover in this one and a lot of things that work to your advantage because of the modifiers that you're given. One of the things that's really good is a dodge heavy attack. Another one of the things that's going to be really useful during Phase 4 is hyper armor. And then during Phase 2, which is in my personal opinion probably the hardest phase, you really want some kind of full block counterattack. But you'll see how that all works in and comes into play as we're getting into the video. There's a lot of choices that work for this one because of the exploitable methods. You can probably clear it with almost any character, and the one phase you can exploit has Revenge++, which gives you an advantage. Alright, so first up we have the Snow Daughter's Sorrow. This chain of quests has a poetic nature to it. I want to touch on that briefly because I'm actually impressed with some of the descriptions they put out for these weekly quests, and this one in particular was just kind of pleasant. One of the fun things about this quest is also you're fighting a variety of people from different factions, and that makes it a little more interesting because you're not just handling a ton of Shaolins all the way through all 4 phases. So first up we have an Obushi. We have a regenerating shield, but low hit points. The regenerating shield kind of makes up for that. The Obushi, on the other hand, heals from attacks. That means you don't want to let her get a hit in. Thankfully, the AI for level 3 bot Nobushis is not that hard to deal with. Interestingly enough, perhaps just because of how lackluster her kit is right now, she tends to open with just raw heavies, and they're very slow, very easy to either parry or full block, what have you, and get in your counterattacks, so you'll perform just fine against her. I find in general that AI Nobushis don't use the hidden stance as much as players do, and therefore they don't capitalize on its massive strength, and you really should have a fairly easy time of taking her out as long as you're careful. There's not much to be said here about the honorable version of the fight, other than what I've already said. If you want to play dishonorably, there is a massive... This one just lines it up for you. There's a stun trap right next to a ledge. So you get her in the stun trap, grab her as the shinobi or whoever else, and throw her off the ledge. If you're not the shinobi, you may not be able to capitalize on the stun trap, but it's still pretty easy to find a ledge on this map. And when you do get that ledge, you'll be able to smile that smug little smile that you get when you know you've kind of just cheated your way through things. Phase 2, the Curse of Happvad Forest. So this one's interesting because you're up against a level 3, of course, bot Highlander. But the Highlander has a massive hit point advantage over you, and your only advantage is that you drain his stamina on attack, which, by the way, is a serious advantage. He does drain your stamina when he blocks you as well, but if you're performing or handling his AI right, that won't be too much of an issue. Additionally, you can't parry. This is why having a character with full block is handy in this quest. The inability to parry means you have to be either dodging or using an alternative defensive option, and full blocks with counters involved are one of the best ways to deal with that. Now, Highlanders are another one of those bots that when you're fighting them, because they don't know how to utilize their kit quite as well as players do, are fairly easy to handle. One of the big things here is they don't get into offensive form and flurry at you as frequently as they could. Additionally, they will use that large arm sweep grab, that's a name I cannot remember for the moment now, blindly at you, which of course you can just side dodge without worry about him fainting like he can with kick or other things. Additionally, his AI for some reason just doesn't seem to always counter guard break as much as others do, which makes it fairly easy to, when he's out of stamina, to get him on the floor. Furthermore, because your attacks drain stamina, when he is out of stamina, by continuing to attack or continuing to guard break, even if he counter guard breaks you, you'll keep his stamina down, and he won't be able to regenerate it, and so it's fairly safe to go for those guard breaks, or feint into them at least, to try to take him out. Now the biggest thing to worry about here is just his massive health pool and the fact that you don't have a ton. Because his health pool is so big, you will have to worry about him getting revenge 1 or 2 times during the fight. But again, as long as you're careful and as long as you're full blocking some of his attacks and turning it against him, you'll do just fine. And always remember, the biggest thing here is the guard breaks when he's out of stamina because of the advantage your modifier gives in this case. If you're looking to do the cheap version, there is a spike pit that you can just kick him into, and again, smile that smile and do the little dirty bird dance. Because everyone knows you're a dirty bird. And on to phase 3, Rulers and Icy Solitude. So this one is the first fight where you are locked in to basically fighting fair. However, we have one of my favorite modifiers anytime you're going up against more than one opponent, Revenge level 3. Revenge level 3 is just really helpful for dealing with almost anything, because as long as you're performing even slightly defensively in between waves of revenge, you'll usually get another revenge back, and it of course couples extremely well with Vengeful Barrier. Our opponents, on the other hand, have a couple interesting tricks. I wouldn't even call them tricks, I just call them bonuses. The Conqueror does a ridiculous amount of damage. This means you gotta be wary about hits from the Conqueror more than anything else, especially when she's getting close to death, he's getting close to death, whatever. He has damage up level 3 as well as damage up level 2 on low hit points. This means the closer he gets to death, the more dangerous he's going to be. That being said though, whenever you manage to put someone on the ground when using revenge, hit whichever one you can. The Peacekeeper does have respawn, so you don't really want to kill her first, but I still kind of recommend keeping your guard on her from time to time, because if she ever gets that guard break out and just like barrels into you with the triple stab while the Conqueror opens up a hit, if they open you up with a heavy, it's going to wreck your day. The only thing that can be said for using the map to your advantage here is the fire pits if you have a character that can easily shove people into them. But generally speaking, I find trying to line up to use fire pits appropriately is not really worth the benefits you get from it. But continue to just pull your way through. This one is a little tough, but utilizing revenge appropriately is absolutely the key here, and then making sure you kill the Conqueror before the Peacekeeper. Do that, and you'll sail through just fine. Alright, the final phase, Old Winter's Vengeance. This phase is particularly interesting because we have a lot of positive modifiers that are going to give us a distinct advantage, but the enemies also have a spread that makes each one of them kind of unique in how you have to handle them. So first, let's talk about ourselves. Our biggest asset is Knockdown on heavy attack. This is massive. We can exploit that very well. AIs tend not to exploit it as well as a player can when they have it on their modifier list. We also have max hit points up. It gives us a little bit of a damage barrier that we can also regain through some stuff in the field. And we have block damage. That block damage isn't super useful in my opinion because most enemies will parry hard against it. So let's begin talking about the enemies. This Shaman, as you can see, is wrecking me with unblockables right here. All her attacks are unblockable. For me personally, this makes it very hard to handle her because I can't discern which are the slower heavy attacks that she throws out and which are her just fast light attacks or her soft feints, so it's very hard to deal with. If you have an attack with hyper armor, you can just push yourself through her opening attack. Zhang Jun can do this, Aramusha can do this, a couple others can, and then once she's on the floor, you can finish her off fairly quickly if you have the right combo set up for it, or just rinse and repeat, losing a little bit more hit points while exploiting your hyper armor. This quest in particular is the reason I said having heavy attacks is extremely valuable. The Zhang Jun's interesting. His modifiers give him a extreme stamina drain. Both of them are low stamina drain, but because he has them both on attack and block, as you're playing offensively against him or as he's playing offensively against you, so either way, you're going to be really losing out on the stamina. Notice that he blocked one of my heavies there and I lost more than half of my stamina in a single move. One advantage you have though at this point is there is this little health regain spot back here that regenerates fairly fast. You only see me use it once in this video, but you can use it multiple times. I had a clear where I used it like 4 times just by appropriately standing and handling things here. This bear trap's a little interesting. The Shugoki, his modifier that gives him the most power is his uninterruptible. That uninterruptible modifier makes him a little bit tricky to deal with, but he's still really the easiest in my opinion to handle. But he has a weird interaction with his uninterruptible and this bear trap. Most of the time AIs, when they get caught in bear traps, it works to your advantage because you can hit them multiple times where they're struggling out, and the uninterruptible makes it so you can like hit him a good 3 times with heavies. But in this case, for some reason, the Shigoki's uninterruptible allows him to slide through the bear trap like he's made of magic or something. I got really lucky right there. But anyways, pull back, use the health pool again. I was wrong, I used it twice in this video, my bad. But anyways, you can turn it against the Shigoki pretty easy, because even though he's uninterruptible, your heavy attacks will still knock him down as long as you catch him in the right moment, and just use that to finish him off. Alternatively, if you do want to go through the exploit method, there's a ledge at the bottom right that you can just drag everybody over to and do this. You kick, or you grab, or you repel the grab. Or alternatively, you grab them from afar because AI are stupid when it comes to Shinobi's grapple mechanic for some reason and throw them off the edge. Point being, it's fairly easy to handle. And with that, you'll have the clear. So as a brief recap, I just want to discuss again the characters that will perform well during this journey. Any character with a dodge heavy is going to be able to handle a few things well. Characters with hyper armor are going to allow you to bypass and deal with the crazy shaman during the final phase. And additionally, any character with a full block of any sort will make your life a lot easier against the Highlander, especially if you're going the honorable route in phase 2. That about sums it up for this weekly quest. This was a fun one because the modifiers really impact the playstyle. So I'll just throw in my little tagline here already. Remember, modifiers modify your playstyle. And for this one, you see that a lot because handling the 3 different opponents during the final phase, you have to approach all of them differently because of their modifiers. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment, like, do anything of that nature that you feel like is appropriate. And let me know if you have anything else you'd want to see me do. I am working on my Kensei's reputation, so I'll be able to use him in future videos. With that, see you all next week.